The world is full of leaders, but few transcend leadership to become symbols of hope. Nelson Mandela was one of those people. From prisoner to president, his journey is remarkable. In this video, we'll explore 10 pivotal moments that shaped Mandela's life and the fate of South Africa. Let's dive in. 6. Picture a small village in South Africa. The year is 1918. This is Mvezo, where Rolihlahla Mandela, later known as Nelson, was born. Growing up, Mandela witnessed the brutal realities of segregation. His thirst for knowledge burned bright, leading him to the University of Fort Hare. There he began to understand the depths of inequality. He wasn't content just studying law, he wanted to change it. These early experiences sowed the seeds of his lifelong dedication to dismantling apartheid. 8. Imagine being a young lawyer in apartheid South Africa. Nelson Mandela joined the African National Congress in 1944. By 1952, under his leadership, the ANC launched the Defiance Campaign. Thousands deliberately broke unjust laws, risking their freedom for equality. Mandela led from the front lines, facing arrest but never backing down. The campaign ignited a spirit of resistance, showing the world that change was possible. Mandela's determination was unwavering. 8. The year is 1956. South Africa is gripped by the oppressive forces of apartheid, a system designed to enforce racial segregation and inequality. Nelson Mandela and 155 activists are arrested, charged with high treason. This mass arrest was a calculated move by the apartheid regime to stifle the growing resistance. The treason trial was a blatant attempt to crush the anti-apartheid movement. The government hoped to silence the voices calling for justice and equality. For 4 years, Mandela and his co-accused endured this legal circus. The trial was a grueling ordeal, filled with delays and legal maneuvering designed to break their spirits. The courtroom became Mandela's platform to expose apartheid's cruelty. He used this stage to highlight the injustices faced by millions of South Africans under the oppressive regime. Against all odds, the verdict was not guilty. This unexpected outcome was a significant blow to the apartheid government, which had hoped to imprison Mandela and his fellow activists. The apartheid regime failed to break Mandela, inadvertently forging a symbol of resistance. Mandela's resilience and unwavering commitment to justice inspired countless others to join the struggle. The trial marked a turning point in Mandela's life and the struggle against apartheid. It solidified his role as a leader and a beacon of hope for the oppressed. He emerged stronger, more determined. The trial had not broken him. Instead, it had steeled his resolve to fight for freedom and equality. Mandela's journey was far from over, but this chapter had forged a symbol that would endure for generations. Imagine dedicating your life to peaceful resistance, only to face a regime that responds with violence. The frustration, the heartbreak, and the sheer determination to make a change despite the odds. This was the reality for many in South Africa during the 1960s, a time when the apartheid regime showed no mercy. In the early 1960s, Mandela and the ANC faced this dilemma. They had long advocated for peaceful protests and negotiations, but the government's brutal response left them with few options. The leadership had to make a critical decision: continue with non-violence or take a different path. The Sharpeville massacre of 1960 was a turning point. Peaceful protesters were gunned down and the world watched in horror. This tragic event highlighted the futility of peaceful resistance against a regime that knew only violence. It was a wake-up call for the ANC and its leaders. In 1961, Mandela helped form Umkhonto we Sizwe, the armed wing of the ANC. This new organization was dedicated to sabotage and armed struggle, aiming to weaken the apartheid regime from within. It was a bold and controversial move, but one that Mandela and his comrades felt was necessary. This was a controversial but necessary move. Many within the ANC and the broader anti-apartheid movement were divided on the issue. Some feared that taking up arms would only lead to more violence and suffering. Others believed it was the only way to force the government to the negotiating table. It aimed to disrupt the apartheid state's infrastructure and force negotiations. The strategy involved targeting government installations, power plants, and other key facilities. The goal was not to harm civilians, but to make the country ungovernable and force the regime to reconsider its stance. Mandela knew the risks, but believed in fighting for peace. He underwent military training and prepared himself for the challenges ahead. His resolve was unshaken, and he inspired many others to join the cause. The struggle was not just about armed conflict, it was about the broader fight for justice and equality. His commitment to freedom was unwavering. Mandela's leadership during this period was crucial. He balanced the need for armed resistance with the ultimate goal of achieving a peaceful and just society. His vision and determination kept the movement focused and united, even in the face of immense challenges. Robben Island, a desolate prison off the coast of Cape Town. In 1962, Nelson Mandela was imprisoned there, sentenced to life. The regime thought they had silenced him. They were wrong. Mandela endured backbreaking labor and inhumane treatment, but his spirit refused to be broken. He used his time to educate himself and his fellow inmates. The world had not forgotten Mandela. His imprisonment sparked international outrage, turning him into a global icon. Robben Island became his crucible, forging him into a stronger leader. 11. Imagine a world united by a shared belief in justice. The Free Mandela campaign became a global rallying cry. Musicians and activists put pressure on governments and corporations. The Soweto uprising of 1976 shocked the world and galvanized the movement. International pressure mounted, isolating South Africa. The campaign exposed the evils of apartheid and demanded justice. Mandela's image became a powerful symbol of resistance. 8. Imagine the immense courage it takes to sit down and negotiate with those who have oppressed you for decades. It requires a strength of character and a vision for the future that few possess. In the late 1980s, Nelson Mandela, after spending years in prison, took that bold step. He began to engage in discussions that many thought impossible. The Free Mandela campaign had reached a fever pitch, with supporters rallying across the globe. The world was watching, and the pressure was mounting. International sanctions were crippling South Africa's economy, creating a sense of urgency for change. The apartheid government was feeling the heat from all sides. Despite being imprisoned on Robben Island, Mandela agreed to engage in secret talks with the apartheid government. These clandestine meetings were the first steps towards a new South Africa. Mandela understood that true freedom and lasting peace could only be achieved through dialogue and reconciliation. He was willing to bridge the divide, no matter how wide it seemed. He worked tirelessly with President F.W. de Klerk, a man from the very system that had oppressed him, to chart a path towards democracy. Their negotiations were fraught with challenges, but Mandela's resolve never wavered. Throughout the early 1990s, Mandela's belief in the power of dialogue persevered. He continued to advocate for peaceful solutions even when tensions were high and violence seemed imminent. His decision to negotiate rather than seek retribution was a testament to his extraordinary leadership and unwavering commitment to a peaceful transition. Mandela's vision and actions laid the foundation for a new era in South Africa, one built on mutual respect and understanding. It's February 11th, 1990. After 27 years, Nelson Mandela walks free. The world erupts in celebration. Mandela's release marked the beginning of a new era for South Africa. His first speech as a free man set the tone for the journey ahead. He knew dismantling apartheid would require patience and forgiveness. Mandela's release was a testament to the power of perseverance. The world dared to dream of a better future. 10. Imagine the hopes of millions resting on your shoulders. In 1994, South Africa held its first multiracial elections. Mandela, the former prisoner, was sworn in as the nation's first black president. The road ahead was fraught with challenges. Mandela championed the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. He focused on building a just and equitable society. Mandela's presidency was a masterclass in leadership. His vision and compassion guided South Africa towards healing. Imagine a world where forgiveness triumphs over hatred. Even after stepping down as president, Mandela continued his work. He established the Nelson Mandela Foundation. He campaigned for HIV/AIDS awareness and spoke out against war and poverty. Mandela's legacy extends far beyond South Africa. His message of forgiveness and reconciliation continues to inspire. Mandela showed us that hope can triumph over despair. His legacy is a beacon of hope for a just and equitable future. 10. 10 moments, 10 glimpses into the life of Nelson Mandela. He wasn't a superhero, but a man who chose hope and forgiveness. Mandela's journey reminds us that change is possible. Even small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect. Let's honor his legacy with action, fight for justice, equality, and a future where everyone can live with dignity. Mandela taught us that the human spirit can shine bright. 10.